Hey, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of Pitch Us. Super excited to have Iona with us today. Let me pull you up here. Welcome. My name is Tim Cooley. I am the author of the Pitch Deck book. I love helping founders present their businesses better. So, Iona, why don't you go ahead and share your screen and then pitch us?
Awesome. Thank you. So, hi everyone. My name is Joanna Manzuridu. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Dextego, where we develop high-performance cultures for future-proof success. The problem that we identified is that current learning ecosystems and organizations do not really create high-performance cultures. And the end result is attrition of top talent, top performers. Today, you've probably seen the move from learning management systems that tend to be more admin centric to learning experience platforms that are more user centric, meaning the user can now choose what course they want to take, what skill they want to develop. But this, unfortunately, is not enough to make that shift in the high performance culture that I was referring to, which is where Dextego comes in as a next gen learning ecosystem platform powered by AI coaching. Dextego is a super personalized coaching platform that helps organizations not only hire, but also keep and grow their high performers, leading to a decrease of the attrition of these people by at least half in just a quarter. So, how we do this? I hope the slide doesn't scare you, but I'll explain it briefly. So starting from the bottom right, we are currently actually working on our own AI cluster, so we don't have to depend on external data processing like OpenAI or Google Bard, but we're taking all this information from open sources that we're cleaning and going through data federation through our database, Mongo Atlas, for high quality information that then interfaces with our APIs, including authentication, chat, tokens, that the user sees through the AI codes as audio, speech, or vision feedback, meaning now the user interacts with the AI codes to get personalized feedback according to the different actions they take within the app. Now, it doesn't stop there. On the top here, you see we have also human input from subject matter experts to create that balance between AI and human experts. And all of this here helps us track and measure the progress of the users in the app that someone like a chief learning officer can see in an external admin panel where they can onboard, get alerts, monitor those users. Again, we don't just stop here. We also have other input that we get within the app through our network effects from the mentorship and the peer-to-peer games that we do to create holistically a coaching score, this coachability score, excuse me, that allows someone like, again, a chief learning officer, a chief people officer to make informed decisions on who to hire, who to keep, and how to develop them so that they become a high performance organization. We are serverless, and that means we're actually able to create an application for scale and for integrations with multiple others so that we become very sticky within a company. Now, very briefly here are features. So primarily our main feature is our micro challenges. These are scenario-based challenges customized according to your role and industry that are things that could easily happen at work to prepare you in a safe psychological environment, practicing now by recording yourself through video or just answering through chat and getting personalized feedback on how to do better. Kind of like you're doing with me today on the beats. So the video will allow the AI coach to see your facial expressions, your tone, your pitch, and content of what you're saying. The idea is that we are engineering those challenges in your daily life so that you can exponentially grow over time. However, you might actually experience a situation at work where you need immediate feedback. So you can always chat with your AI coach, and it will know based on previous challenges you've done and previous questions you've asked the context better to help you in that situation. And lastly, we also have daily inspiration because I'm sure you're aware with mental health and the increased depression and isolation rates due to remote work, we wanted to just add a little more happiness. Moving on, who we're targeting. So we're targeting startups, growth, and enterprise companies in B2B SaaS and professional services in the US today, which is a TAM of 65 billion. And in terms of the players in the market right now, I put here some companies that have raised seed round, such as Bounce AI that focuses on leadership skills, Presenter that focuses on presentation skills. But our differentiation is one, we're multi-skilled, meaning we're creating a realistic environment for a learner. We're video first, where competitors usually just have integration with ChatGPT through chat. And we leverage adaptive learning for hyper-personalization. No one single user has the same experience as someone else. And this makes the app sticky for the long term. So even if you change job, you get a promotion, you switch department, the coach is still there for you, with you. And therefore, we're not just a standalone app, we are a learning ecosystem that can be embedded within an organization, creating the network effects that I mentioned through the peer-to-peer games and mentor circles that we're launching right now, for even more feedback, for more interaction within the app than just the one-on-one with the AI coach. So my background is in talent development and HR. I thought I was going to do my PhD for a second in organizational psychology, but decided to switch to startups instead to have impact at scale. Worked as a VP of people at Aptivio, where really part of my responsibilities was to find a way to help our young managers grow. And that meant grow their leadership skills, communication skills, teamwork. And then it's when I started looking for everywhere online to find what type of tools are out there. I couldn't find something super personalized, something gamified that actually people would want to use on a daily basis. Because today, unfortunately, most tools like that is just you clicking next, next, next to complete the task, and that's it. So I went to my CEO at the time, Guy, who loved the idea. He became our first investor and executive chairman. We also have now strategic partnership, actually, where they're embedding our app in theirs. And on the left side, you see my co-founder and CTO, Sean Vasquez, that I've been knowing for the last 10 years. He built my first website, and he's the senior engineer manager at American Express for the last 8 years. Super knowledgeable of creating large-scale consumer app projects. However, we know we won't succeed alone, so we've been building strategic partnerships. The ones on the left are actively partners with us. The ones on the middle and right are the ones that we're striving towards, so that we create distribution channels and partners that we can really grow with, including Vibe Recruiting, Living HR, ID360, which is focused also on talent development and executive coaching. And coming towards the end here, we are a B2B SaaS platform, so our pricing depends on the number of employees. We also have an individual license just so that we do a bottom-up and top-down sales motion, but we're heavily focused on B2B. We've seen a 24% increase month over month since our launch, which was 1st of June. And that's when we sold our first enterprise deal at Aptivio. Today, we're at 660 users with 49% daily active use. And we're running a pilot with the US Navy that can turn into 800 paid seats. So it looks very promising, and we keep growing. Today, we're also fundraising, so we're at pre-seed stage. We're raising 500K at 4.5 pre-money, with half of the round committed, so that we can get to at least 1,000 paid users and 60% daily active use by end of this year. Thank you so much for your time. Happy to answer any questions.
Awesome. Great job. Great job. No, leave it up. Leave it up. Let's chat
sorry.
through it. No, you're okay.
Sorry. Let me share it back. All right.
Let me add it back. Awesome. Go back to the beginning. Well, first of all, let's start here. Let's just delete this slide. If you've ever watched any of my pitch that, let's wrap up with one slide, put your contact information, the ask on the very last slide. That's my first point of feedback. But I want to talk about things that I really liked. I really liked your cadence. It was really easy to listen to you talk through this. It's clear this may be the first time you've done it. I don't know, but it didn't feel like that. So great job on that cadence. One of the things that I like to talk about in the book is make it feel like a conversation, and I think you did a really, really good job with that. So great job. I really, really liked your background. I would recommend bringing that earlier into the presentation because it actually can set you up for the rest of the presentation. If you're like, look, I couldn't find something that had these 3 elements, right? And we'll get into that one slide that was all kind of crazy, because that's really the reason you built this is for yourself. And I think that's a very important thing to bring out in the beginning. Makes sense. And then when you talk about your boss basically being your funder, that's great. We can leave that in at the end. But I think bringing in that earlier is important. All right. So sticking with this slide, one thing that I would do is make the text down here that we develop high performing culture. I would make this a lot bigger. And when you said it, I was like writing notes at the same time, and I actually didn't hear you. So what I would recommend is in this case, just take a pause, just wait a second or two, like read the room, I guess, and then begin. Like just give yourself a little bit of a pause. Cause like, even though I said go, I didn't really mean it. Right. I didn't mean like right now. Like I've never, that's a good, like a note for myself. Cause I'm like, oh shoot, like I should have paid attention right when I said go, but you did a good job. I would just make this bigger. One thing that we recommend size wise, font size wise, is no smaller than about 22 size font. And if you think about that, like a lot of times we're pitching older people, and many don't have great eyesight. So just make the font bigger. Another thing that I would recommend on this slide is remove the September 2023. And the reason I say that is, let's say for it happens to be September. What if it wasn't and you forgot to change it, right? Like life gets busy. So I would just say remove it so you don't have an accidental thing that you didn't have to change. Make sense? Just a little
Yeah,
thing.
definitely.
Crazy. All right, let's move forward. Overall, honestly, I think you did a really good job. I think we can clean up a few things. This is a really, really interesting space right now. I've seen a different company not that long ago, similar concept. And so I think that we need to, like, this is a space that's going to be gaining traction over the next little while, I'm pretty sure. So problem statement. If we built this from your point of view as a person who was trying to buy the tool, now we can talk about the problems with the softwares that currently exist. So you can say they didn't use video, they didn't do this thing, they didn't do this thing. You can make that list and you can kind of talk to that versus this idea of the learning management systems and the learning experience platforms. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I don't know. But what I want to know is like, what are the problems that you're trying to solve within this coaching space of high performers? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because you're right. Like LMSs typically are just checkbox. Like, did you make it through? I don't know if you learned anything. And then these experience platforms do a little bit more than that. But you're really trying to get to this like hyper focused, like coaching of your high performers. I think. Am I right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Exactly that.
Yeah. So I would think pull those problem statements out that you mentioned them all, but just pull them out here because they're really, really important.
Yep.
Okay. So you can say, look, I didn't like learning management systems. They didn't do what I wanted. Now solution, show me the opposite. Therefore, we built a tool that did this thing. And what we're seeing as the result is this decrease in attrition by 0.5%, which you can quantify. You could put a dollar amount to that, which I think is important.
Yes, we actually do have an ROI framework depending on actually salary, so I can link it here to it. Someone can also test it.
So you could do try different versions of that when you're like pitching to the mirror or whatever. You can like say like for every dollar that we see, the company sees an ROI of this, or just by extending a person for 3 more months, they save this much money, right? Because then now you can say, as when you go into traction, which is missing from this deck, we can say, here's what we've done already. Let me give you some more details around that.
Yeah, actually, the calculation was that for $1 million that a company loses, we save them 300K, which is like 33x ROI of our subscription. Because for instance, for 100 license, we are at 10K a year, so the payback is 4 months.
Yeah, so that's an important thing when we go. I would put this into the traction element. Right, because right now we're just talking about what does the software do, right? Okay, so let's move forward from solution. Okay, if we do what we just talked about, I don't think you need this slide. This slide, first of all, we read it from right to left, which is like totally not American, right? And so that makes my brain, I'm like, you're talking over on the MongoDB side, but I'm reading it from serverless distribution. Like we're just going in opposite directions. 2, I don't exactly know how to follow you through this. So it might be important, but it might not be. And what you did in this slide is you started to talk about the different solutioning parts. Like you're like, we take these inputs and then we do this with it. Like you could just show me that, right? Inputs, we pull these things in again, because remember the other ones didn't do that. And then we do this with it because the other ones didn't do that. And then we do another thing.
Yeah, I agree that actually this is more of like a technical also look into it. And I did it because I did get a lot of questions on like, how are you built, like how are you actually different than just like ChatGPT. So that was my attempt in that, but I totally hear you. It can be like on the like hidden slides in case a CTO asks, but I don't have to show it here. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Cool. The next thing of feedback here is I prefer, so you talk about product features. Again, this should be wrapped up all in the solutions that we're talking about, which it is in the right section, but like, you're like, well, first of all, we just made a really clean, easy dashboard. We have this chat room, we have this thing, and then let me tell you how we're different from all the other tools is really kind of how that solution part should go. Like this inspiration thing is cool, chat room. I like the idea of video, like you said it, but it's not called out like on this slide anywhere. Like the majority of these things, like we use video. And going back to problem, the majority of the current solutions are all text-based, right?
Yes, got it.
Okay. So now moving forward, you go into market size. Okay. I think it's worth it going right into the business model right after the solution. And the reason I say that is, let's say I came to your house and I was like, Iona, I'm going to sell you a vacuum cleaner. And you would be like, well, the first question after I went through my whole pitch, you're going to be like, what are you going to ask me?
How much is it?
How much does it cost? So if we can get to that number right away, you've already started answering the 3 major questions. One's, why are you here? What are you doing? And how much does it cost? Right? Those are the first 3 questions every investor has. They have a lot of other ones, but those are the big 3. Then I also have a frame of reference once we go into so business model, potentially some financials, but then now I get where your market size came from, right? So you say 1.3 billion, but like, what does that mean? Like, I'm not rooted in any numbers here. right? So you could say, we're going after companies with, and I'm just making this up, between 50 and 100 employees. That's where we found our sweet spot. They also have a budget, and there are 9 million of those. I don't know. I made up all those numbers, right?
Yeah.
So now I can say, okay, you charge $5,000 a year times 9 million. That's the true SOM that you're going after. That's who you're calling right now. So it's a we like to say a bottom up approach.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
All right. So now we move forward. Competitive landscape. This is a really good slide. I would pull out Chat GPT on this as well, just because everyone knows that name, right? Even though it's just a tool that someone has to use themselves. I would still pull it out. And you referenced it as well. So
right. Yeah. No, good points.
So again, so if you think about the check boxes you have here, these are your solutions that you need to have shown me, right? So you're like, so one, we do video chat where others use text, right? See, none of these have video. We have this avatar so that a person can like do whatever they want to do with it, right? But these are you need to kind of talk about like, these are the problem statements, right? They don't have this, they don't have this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So your competitive landscape is almost a recap of the problem and solution. Because like it's been about like 7 minutes about this point, and then you're like, remember, this is what we're doing, and everyone's like, oh, I see. Oh yeah. I remember. You are better than those ones, theoretically speaking.
Yes.
Right. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, so what I want to see right now. So I really like this space. I think there's going to be a few players in this space at some point. Now, what I want to know is the traction of you and your team at this point, right? So you've convinced me that there's a market. I understand what your solution's trying to accomplish. And now it's like, you got to hit me with, here's what we've done so far up to this point. Then I'm like, all right. Okay. Like I want to get real excited right now. Okay. And then the follow-up to that one is, what are you going to do next? What are those milestones that you're trying to hit with the funding? And you said those in your ask slide, but I would pull those out very specifically. You're like, over the next 12 months with funding, we're going to do these 3 things or whatever it's going to be.
And here, just to clarify, because you said earlier to have the why, basically my background, like you would put it even before the problem, or like just embedded in the problem slide.
Yeah. So let me pitch you what we're doing right now, right? I've been on the investment side of entrepreneurship for about 10 years, right? I've seen thousands of pitches. Most entrepreneurs can't do A, B, C.
Yeah.
Therefore, I built a product that can do A, B, C.
Yeah, got it.
You see that?
Yes.
So that's how you're starting it. You don't need to spend a ton of time on that, but like you've just rooted me with the why me, why us kind of thing at the very beginning. You don't need a whole slide. I mean, you can pull out a slide about you, but just again, it's real quick. Like, look how quick I did that. 15 seconds.
Yep.
And I can show logos. I can do a bunch of stuff in that one slide. But it's really it's like a transitional slide into the problem.
Icebreaker.
Yeah, kinda, yeah. Okay. I love this slide. This goes part of that traction that we talked about. So it should come right after the competitive matrix. So you're like, look what we've done. We've already locked down 7 logos that are helping us do sales. They account for X amount of revenue or whatever the story is going to be. And we've already lined up 8 people who we're potentially closing deals in the next 6 months. So I would put this more on the traction-ish slide. Yep. That's how I would do this. I would still pull up more traction elements. We like to see numbers. Again,
This-
pricing.
Yeah.
So what I would do here is go up. I would not have the talk to sales right here. This is really meant for a website. What I would put is some dollar amount here per 100 employee or whatever you think that it scales at that point. The other thing that I would do here is from a business model slide, because if you're doing this and you're going to say like, here's what our projections look like over the next little bit, I would highlight which one of these is your primary focus right now. So like you're gonna focus on growth companies, maybe. Does that make sense?
Yes. And it is where we focus anyway.
What was that?
And it is where we focus actually, growth companies. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so put like a box around it or start or do something that says the numbers you're about to see on our forecast are built around this target is really kind of how that plays out. Because then if you go like, so when you, what I recommend for like that financial projection is put a little table at the bottom. Because let's say you said $1 billion. I don't know what that means. But if you're like, in year 1, we're going to be at 10 companies. Year 2, we should be about 200. Year 3 is 500. Then I can go, what's 500 times 10,000? Oh, I see. Your numbers are starting to make sense. Does that make sense? I call it, it's like a real quick KPI number for the business model.
Got it. Awesome.
All right, now moving forward. Again, traction, this is great. Put this in the, I would put this as your forecast in your that business model slide. So keep this order, just put them right after the solution. Okay. One big thing that I would fix here is this logo is the wrong logo. This is the Marine Corps logo, and you said the Navy.
Yeah.
I was in the Marines, so like
I know I saw beforehand actually that you were, and I want to bring it up, but you're very right. I have to change it.
So yeah, so I would change that logo. I appreciate that being there, but it's not the right one unless it is the Marine Corps, and then
No,
different.
it is the Navy.
Okay. I love it though. Semper Fi, whoever's out there. Okay, so move to the next slide.
Oops. Oh yeah, that's it. Fundraising.
Oh, so yeah, let's go to this last slide. Okay. So we talked about that. So your team slide should be right before this one. And then for here, I would change this up a little bit. I would bring in all the data. Bring in your logo. I know it's down there in the lower right, but bring it back out more prominent. Remind us what the business name is. Give us a 1-sentence description of what the company is. Like this is really a full summary slide. Congratulations on raising half that capital. That's awesome. Keep that. But then relist here, like you said, get to 100 or 1,000 paid users. Does that mean like 10 companies? Does that, like, I don't know what that really means. Like, right? So I would pull out key milestones and then also the use of funds here.
Yeah, that's interesting. I did have that, and then I got feedback that there's no need for this right there. Just talk about like the goal. So I can bring it back. I don't know.
So you're going to get however many people you talk to feedback. What I would say is generalize all of them, because it's kind of like going out in the rain, or it might rain. It's like, it's kind of better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
True.
Right. So again, if they don't like it, doesn't matter. It's still there. And what you'll see, and I agree with you, like, I don't really, but because sometimes what people want to see is it's kind of like a, like if you're of the 500K, if you were spending 400 on development, that's like a red flag for me, right? Like I want to see the majority of the money going to marketing or sales, right? And then I also want to make sure that those milestones line up with that. And you're like, oh, I see, 200 is going to a sales team, and you're going to try and get 20 new customers. That makes a lot of sense. I think you can get there with that. That's kind of how those all play together. Yeah. And then put your contact information on this final slide. And the only reason I say this is this slide, if this is a real pitch, gets the most airtime of all the slides that you get. So it's good to kind of have a really almost cluttered summary slide at the end, because people will be like, Iona, tell me a little bit about blah. And then you'll just sit on this slide. And if you've got 30 other people in the room, they're like, oh yeah, I wanted to ask about that too, or whatever. Like they start like remembering the whole pitch.
Mm.
So it's kind of like a one slide pitch, if you will.
Yeah, like an executive summary.
Kind of, yeah.
Perfect. No, that's awesome feedback. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
really helps the flow. I can definitely see everything you said, like, makes sense.
Cool. Well, so first of all, thanks for being here. And I like to say, people, like, if this was like a company going through like an angel investment group and that you were pitching to me, would I take this on to due diligence? The answer is like, I would follow you. I don't know if I would take it to due diligence today, but I might, because you've got this other commitment. So what I might do is say, can I talk to some of your other investors? Because I'm curious why they invested. In you, and in your background makes sense. If I really like the industry, which I do think there's going to be a big player in this, it's kind of the next employee benefits product in some ways. Now my question is, can you sell? And like I would want to do a due diligence into that. Obviously we're not going to cover it in a 10-minute presentation, but that would be my big follow-up, is walk me through your sales process. Who do you have coming up next? And I think that's the discussion we would have moving forward.
Got it. So you would like to see like more traction to be persuaded, basically, for that. Like if I did have more traction, like, would you say okay, or it would still be
I'd still go into that would still be my question into due diligence, even if you had more traction.
Okay.
Because I do know there's a lot of people trying, not a lot, but there's people going into this space. And so I would be like, oh, are you able to get in quicker? Are you like, do we need to blitz the market? Can we make bigger margins? Like it's a longer conversation.
I see.
So there you
Yeah.
go.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much for being here. This was awesome. You did a great job. I think, like I said, just moving a couple things around can really, really help the flow. And for people out there, please apply. We are looking for people all the time. It's not scary. It's pitchus.io/apply or something like that. So Iona, thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys all next time.
I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.